So Gareth, how would you describe what you found when you arrived here in February? Were you surprised by anything?
Um, yeah, I'll have to say I was surprised. I was surprised at the training ground for a start. The pitches were fabulous, compared to what was Harlington and what was back in Twyford when I was playing. A real good facility, and then the new building. I knew they were going to a new building. Looked at it, and it was, little did I think it was going to be as good as it is. We've got a real good facility next season now coming that's going to attract players. It's going to be needing some good players and some good performances to justify it. But they were great things. And then on the pitch, the way the boys can play, the way the boys can keep the ball at times is very good. Although there was a lack of identity around what they were doing. We were playing a lot of great football, but it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't impacting the opposition. It was quite easy for them to defend it. And we weren't getting behind teams. We weren't hurting teams, getting in areas where we could hurt teams. So, although there was a lot of sort of, is it off the cuff sort of thing, like I said, there was no real plan identity. And I wanted to definitely bring a plan in place, as the weeks and days went by, bringing across some ideas from the last club, which had worked really well, got us to the championship and almost survived in the championship, Found that the boys physically, were probably lacking a little bit as well. I think the fitness here has been an issue for some time, and it's something I really want to address. I think we can be fitter. As a player myself, prided myself on never being outrun or outfought or outjumped or anything like that. And I think that there's certain things, physicalities that I want to work on. Some fine, some are good, some players. But I think as a group, as a whole, as an average, we can be a little bit down there on the meters and times. And that was something I've been wanting to address for a while. But coming in, the last week of February, you've got March and April left, really. You've only got 6-7 days in May. So you've got 2 months to sort the whole thing out. And the immediate thing was, let's get points on the board. And then the last thing really surprising was the state of the morale, where the boys were.
Well, I was going to come on to that. Given how difficult things have been at times, how important was it for you and your coaches to remain positive and not to sink down to a low level?
Yeah, and really tough. I've not met a more positive person than me. I will be positive till the end, believe me. I will find a chink of light in anything. I really will. There's always a positive. There's a positive in the result. The last game of the season against Bristol, the positive is I know exactly what I want to do in the summer. It reaffirms what I want to do. There's a positive for you. So the positivity around the place, I'll instill that. I think that's one of the reasons I was brought in as well. I think the board knew of me. Me and Les had spoke a few times, and I think he knows the attitude I want around the place. But it was a polar opposite of what I came into. It was a negative attitude. There was there was a very individual culture, because what you seems to happen is when things go against you, you sort of protect yourself a little bit, and that was really evident here, that everyone was singular and protecting themselves, and the team aspect was like, oh my God, how do I get out of this? And it's not a meant thing by the players. They don't intend to do this. They just don't know any other way, and people in general do. They'll just it's the primal instinct of right, look after yourself. But in this sport, your team is so important. You never just look after yourself. You have to look after those around you. So trying to instill the positivity in the boys was going to be big. I remember on the first week, I got my staff together and said, right, you're my staff. You're my first team staff. Gavin Ward, Paul Hall, Richard Dobson, Josh Hart, who I brought across with me, obviously. Sam Toohey is the other analyst, and said, right, this is the core group, boys. We've all got each other's backs, and we cannot let anything seep out of this group. If you hear any negativity, if you hear any of this, you got to pick up on it. You've got to, and it's hard because they don't know me. The players don't know me. I'm coming in, and there's no trust, and going through as many managers this season as well instills a lack of trust in people, So you have to win that first, then you get the positivity, and then keep being genuine, keep being consistent day after day. And so one of the first weeks, the early weeks, I remember doing the haka, which went quite viral, you know, on the New Zealand thing, because I'm a big fan of the book legacy and the way the New Zealand team do it and what it stands for them. And I've probably got a bit of stick of this online, half good, half bad probably, and people don't really know the reasons I do it sometimes. I do it, because to instill this team ethic, right? Look, one of the most successful teams in the world did it. But I also wanted to look to see who wasn't going to buy into this. You know, and that was an important lesson that I learned about my players, seeing who's not going to buy into this. Have they done any of this before? And really, they haven't. They haven't done too many development days. They haven't done too many of this off the pitches stuff, which, you know what, really, really does build relationships. And if I think about the best teams I played in and the best years I have, I knew the boys inside out. I knew their wives' names. I knew, or their girlfriends, or both sometimes. but I knew how many kids they had. I knew where they lived. I knew what clubs they'd been at. I knew, and once you start building those bonds off the pitch, when you talk to people about things that aren't football, that creates this stronger bond than just the football game. So then on the pitch, I've got this guy next to me. I know all about this guy. And if somebody's going to go against this guy, I'm there for him because I know him really well. He's one of my friends. And that wasn't here. It really wasn't, you know, and I think that was a big thing. And a lot of big clubs and where things have taken off, and maybe there's some good money here, and there's some good players here, there's some you know, there's the egos here, there's all these things can be like, right, again, back to that individual me thing. And I want that team, I want that togetherness, and nobody be fearful of being best friends with someone else. Not just one person, 8 of them, 9 of them, because you're going to be out there with 8 or 9 on a Saturday, you know. And so these were tough days, you know, trying to get these people in, you know. Where Mark Prince came in, did a talk with us. We had an army talk with us, you know. We've tried to do little things day in, day out, but it's staying consistent and never wavering, because if the one day that I'll waver and be negative, and the lads will see right through it.
The new training ground buildings are nearly ready. How will those facilities help you?
The new facilities are fantastic, but I want a humble culture. I want a humility about the boys, that when they go and they go, wow, this is brilliant. Not, wow, this is what we deserve. This is brilliant, because I think humility is one of my biggest traits, and if we can look at it as that, how lucky we are, and we're going to make the best use of this, and this is going to help us so much, and then, you know, combine it all with that, I think that's going to be an amazing tool, you know, because I cannot thank the club enough for bringing me into such a fantastic place, which is going to have such a fantastic building, and they've earned it over the years. The club has earned it. It's become this bigger club than it ever was. But I still want us to think, we don't deserve this. This shouldn't have. We're thankful. I'm going to use this. I'm going to be there because I want people to want to be at the training ground. I want it to be this place where people come in early and then go home late because they love being at the training ground so much. And when things aren't going great, it's nice to come in and go home really quickly. So again, that's down to me. It's down to the staff. It's down to the players to breed this success, to have this culture that we want to be around QPR. We want to give everything for QPR, and we've got this fantastic facility at QPR, so I don't mind being there. And it's been tough, you know. Not only have we had 3 or 4 managers this season, they've had a change of training grounds from Hollington to where we are now at Heston, and it's temporary. These are all these things still, they play a part. So once again, I told the players last week, I understand what's gone on. It's not your fault. You don't have to deal with this. I've got massive respect for you all, and thank you for delivering from this season, because you've all dug deep and you've all done it for me. So, you know, I don't want anyone thinking I'm negative on the players here. It's just the way it was, and I want to make sure that next season these boys love being together, love being at the training ground, love what they do, because it's hard, you know. It's hard when you're not winning to love what you do, and that's what I intend to do.
The season, such as it is over. Perhaps, thankfully. What can we expect from this summer? Yeah,
do you know what? I've got some really good players. Got some brilliant players. I've had them this season, some really good players. And I'll have some players that will want to move on, will have to move on, will I think it's time for them to move on and go and get careers. But what I want to try and do is instill this culture, and that will be driven by new signings, new methods, a new energy about next season, and this positive start that, look, we were in a tough place last year, but you lot survived. Nobody thought you would. You were brilliant. You survived on that last. We went to Burnley and beat them. We went to Stoke and got a clean sheet and survived that day. The fans are right with you. The fans are right behind you. If that doesn't enthuse you, if that doesn't want you, make you go out and give your all every week for QPR, then I don't know what will. And I'll keep reminding them of what they achieved this season, because believe me, they've done well. They really have done well. It's not been a great season football-wise, but to be where they were when I walked in, to be where they are at the end of the season, I'm proud of these boys, really proud. And I think some additions to it with the right characters, some real leaders, some real drivers, I think will only get this place better.
Staying in the Championship was obviously the clear target. What role did the senior players play in getting you there?
Yeah, I mean, senior players we talk about. I mean, Albert Adoma scored the goal that kept us. So that's what role he played. Fantastic. But all the senior players have been good. They've all been in tough situations. You know, I remember having a meeting with Stefan early on. I wanted to pull the captain of the team, and we built a good relationship together. And Stefan was one of the ones who probably sacrificed his position to play the way I wanted to play to keep us surviving. This fantastic footballer on the ball, but we didn't have the right play, the right methods to do that. So I thought, you know, it's tough on Steph, but he understood, and he went, you know, Gaffer, yep, totally understand what you want to do, I'm right with you. Brilliant to have that, you know. Chris Martin had only been here a few weeks. I made him captain for one of the games, you know, and he was great, you know, the over 30s, you know, Leon Balogun, Albert, like we say, they all bought in. And it's been tough for them. It's been tough for those boys, you know. I think they've all played in real successful sides. And I'm not sure many have been in a relegation battle before, you know. So that was tough. But I'm sure they've learned and grown as players. But no, some of the younger players and the mid-range players, you know, you talk about Ilias's voice, you know, around the place. He's quite experienced when he's not seen anyone, but quite experienced. And Lyndon, you know, played a lot against this football club. They've been very good, you know. They really have. I don't want to miss anyone out, you know, and send any people out, Rob and Jimmy, you know, young boys still really learning their trade at this level. But it's been a tough old year. It really has. So, you know, the senior boys did play their part without a doubt, because it would have been easy for them to start saying in the dressing room, "Oh, do it this way, do it that way." I think they were happy that we started winning at the end when we did, and I'm sure they were just as happy as me to see that final whistle go and the end of the season. We can revamp next season. But I want to thank all the boys, you know, seniors, juniors, and middle age, shall we say, because they all played a huge part in that.
You've expressed your views about possession for possession's sake.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about how you want to play eventually? Well,
I'll tell you that every team wants to play like Man City, and only Man City get to play like Man City because they can afford the best players. You know, if you look at it, you look at Leicester when they won the Premier League with, I thought, the least possession in the league, you know. So there's all different ways of winning a football game. My job is to cut the cloth accordingly to what you've got. We have some great possession players in this team, but there was no purpose in that. There was no real sort of identity about why we were doing it. So I sort of sacrificed that a little bit just to get results. I consider that a good move that I had to make, you know, because I do love playing. I played in some good teams, you know, here with Ian Holloway we played, and John Gregory and Di Canio and people like that, you know. Played some real fast, entertaining, flowing football, you know, so I do want to play that way. But everyone has this ideal football snobbery, is it? You know, they want to play 10 pass moves and a goal. I don't think there's many 10 pass moves and the goals in the Championship. I think the average is about 3 or 4 passes, and at the moment we had to do 1 and 2 passes. But getting results on the board is my ultimate job as a manager, getting points on the board. But of course, you know, I want to play some of these players to their maximum ability. You know, we have some great footballers, and getting them the ball on the ground, I think is good. Ilias, for instance, I mean, I think he's at his best when he's taking people on and dribbling at players, you know. And I think we've lately managed to get him on the ball doing that, and that was good, and that makes him shine. I think that it's just the work rate of the whole group, you know, just to make them better, to make them fitter, so they can do it time after time after time. But I'm not going to shy away from, I like crosses in the box. I like putting it on the opposition in their areas. I like going forward with the ball. But you know, that's my style as a manager, and I think that like I say, there's a lot of teams who want to play like the top Premier League teams, but seldom get to do it because they can't afford the players like the ones up there. But you know, we'll be winning games, and that will be important next year.
Once again, we've suffered a lot of muscle injuries. What could be done about this?
Yeah, it's got to be looked at without a doubt. You know, muscle injuries are the worst ones as a manager that you can accept. You know, you don't mind a whack, you don't mind a tackle and a contact injury, but muscle injuries are the hardest. I'll say they're not the hardest. I'll tell you what the hardest: reoccurring muscle injuries. They're the hardest ones to get through, and we've had too many of them as well. So, you know, I do think it comes down to a whole bigger thing than just why is it muscle injuries? Why we're pulling this? I think robustness and fitness for me are two key elements. You know, I had to survive at Wycombe with signing players who were pretty injury prone or pretty past it, and we had to keep them going. I've got experience of doing this. I think we can make our players stronger. You know, there's certain things I want to try and do in the summer, and if I get to do them, then brilliant. I think we'll be better for it. But again, you know, I don't want to talk any details in the press, but believe me, I'm not ignoring the amount of injuries we had this year. I think it really killed the club.
What's it been like working with the owners and the management team so far?
Yeah, the owners have been brilliant. They really have. You know, my immediate contact usually is Lee Hughes and Les and people like that, and they've just been absolutely so supportive since I've got in. You know, said, you know, I think there was a lot of stick being dished about here, there, and everywhere, and what I've seen, I've just had total support from the people at the football club, and the owners. Yet regularly contact and regularly check in with those. But I think there's some, you know, some misguided rumours going around about how much input people have in here. Since I've been here, it's been great, and I've had the backing from everyone. I've had the support to do what I wanted to do, and luckily we did manage to stay in the Championship. But you got a great bunch of owners who care so much about this football club. They really do. There's nobody who's in there to make money or to try and get. They all really care about this football club, as do the people I've worked with in the management team as well. They all care about QPR, and as long as that's there, then that's the way it should be. That's been brilliant.
We all know what you think of the club. You've only been here since February, and things haven't always been easy. Have you been able, at least to some extent, to enjoy being manager of Queen's Park Rangers?
When I talk about the humility and the genuineness of my values, of course, I'm a lucky guy. I wake up every morning and I'm the manager of a fantastic football club. I get to inspire people. I get to come in and discipline people and try and teach people things, guide my staff, be there for my staff, be there for my players. So yeah, of course I enjoy being QPR manager. It's the best job in the world, and until I'm told not to do it anymore, I'll keep enjoying it every single morning.